26-year-old Lewis Simpson Jr. is behind bars for fatally shooting his mother, 53-year-old Tina McGruger, and his grandmother, 75-year-old Deanna McGruger. At 1:34 p.m. on Friday, the 8th of December, authorities responded to a residence in the 2300 block of Balsalt Drive in Killeen, Texas on reports of a domestic incident. Tina called 911 and said her son had threatened to shoot her and her mother and had struck her with his hands. 2 officers arrived on scene and made contact with Lewis as he was exiting the premises and found him in possession of a firearm. He seemed nervous and stated that he needed to leave the location. While the officers spoke to him, they heard screaming coming from inside the residence. Lewis was detained, and when the officers entered the home, they found 2 women shot. Tina was suffering from gunshot wounds to both sides of her chest. She was having issues talking and had lost a lot of blood, but when police questioned who shot her, she said son. Deanna was laying face down in the living room area with at least 1 gunshot wound to the left side of her chest. The officers rendered aid to both victims until paramedics arrived on scene. Both women were transported to separate hospitals in a critical condition, where they were both pronounced dead by 2:45 p.m. that day. During an interview with detectives, Lewis acknowledged being in possession of a firearm at the time of the incident and having been in conflict with his mother that day. He also stated that words to the effect that he didn't mean to kill them, as he didn't shoot headshots. He then said, but at the same time I didn't want anyone to get up to stop me. Lewis told police his mother had a hand in putting him into jail before on a conviction of assault causing bodily injury to a family member, which he said was the worst mistake she could have made. He described how Tina was still moving after she was shot, then acknowledged shooting Deanna, and indicated he might have fired his weapon as many as 7 times. Lewis said that he was also thinking about shooting one of the responding officers, but decided against it because the officer already had his hand on his weapon, and he believed the officers would likely shoot him first if he tried to kill the officer. Lewis then blamed Tina for her death and the death of Deanna. Lewis has been charged with 2 counts of capital murder, and he remains held at the Bell County Jail on a $3 million bond. 39-year-old Brandon Toro is behind bars for stabbing and beating his girlfriend to death. At just before 8 p.m. on Wednesday the 20th of December, authorities responded to a residence in the 3500 block of Mountain Valley Drive in Las Vegas, Nevada on report of an injured person. When officers arrived on scene, they entered the home and found an unresponsive woman suffering from severe trauma and stab wounds. Medics pronounced the woman dead at the scene. The victim has not been publicly identified. Authorities identified Brandon as a suspect in the killing. He was also in the home when police arrived. Police said that Brandon got into a verbal fight with his girlfriend, the victim, during which time Brandon stabbed her and hit her with a blunt object. There was another person inside the house during the incident, whom Brandon was not allowed to leave. That person was able to get out and call police. Police arrested Brandon on charges of open murder involving a deadly weapon, assault with a deadly weapon, and kidnapping with a deadly weapon. He's held at the Clark County Detention Center without bail. A mother and daughter are accused of attacking and robbing a man who was trying to help them. During the early morning hours of Saturday the 16th of December, the victim saw 2 women later identified as 53-year-old Carla Thomas and a daughter 33-year-old Danielle Tolliver at the Baymont Motel at 2725 West International Speedway Boulevard in Daytona Beach, Florida, working on an SUV. When he asked them if they needed help, they said they would pay him if he helped them pick up a scooter at another location. The man agreed and got into Carla's car, and Danielle sat in the back with him. During the drive, he said he fell asleep and woke up to Danielle accusing him of stealing her mother's phone, and they beat him up, knocking out his front tooth. Danielle then jumped on the victim and stabbed him repeatedly before taking his phone. The victim said he begged to be let out of the vehicle, but the 2 women wouldn't let him. At some point, the victim managed to jump out of a moving car and went to a homeowner and asked to call 911. At 5:41 a.m., Daytona Beach police responded to 548 South Caroline Street on reports of a man bleeding from his arm and mouth. The man kept repeating to officers he was stabbed. He was taken to Halifax Health Medical Center, where he received stitches to his arm and lip. On the morning of Tuesday the 19th of December, Carla was taken into custody after being identified as a suspect in a photo lineup. She's charged with false imprisonment and robbery with a weapon, and was booked into the Volusia County Branch Jail without bail. The victim identified Danielle as the person who stabbed him in the arm and lip. Authorities are still searching for Danielle, and have issued a warrant for her arrest on charges of robbery with a weapon, aggravated battery with a deadly weapon causing injury, and false imprisonment. Danielle was previously arrested in December of 2022 on accusations she used a stun gun to rob a security guard she met at a business he was guarding. Charges against her in that crime were dropped on the 28th of April 2023. The investigation into the matter continues.